play that again. So, hello everyone. Welcome to REwATCH Talk Live. We're your hosts. I'm Richard, and
I'm Jay.
they're the J Buddies with us. And on August 8th, 2022, Better Call Saul, Season 6, Episode 12, Waterworks, premiered on AMC. Now, a few notes before we begin. REwATCH Talk Live is a weekly podcast. RTL will enthrall listeners and viewers with our enticing discussions and views as we rewind movies and streaming shows. Jay and I are dedicated in our rewatches, and we do more than deep dive. We go balls deep into each entertainment we explore. Join our Facebook page, We REwATCH Talk group. There's a link in the description, and you can subscribe. And we do have an email, which is rttalklive@gmail.com. And if you want more great podcasts, check out NDB Media on Facebook, X, Twitter, and YouTube. Their Facebook link is in the description. Today, we pound the penultimate episode 12, Waterworks, starring Bob Odenkirk. And we finally get to see Ray Seahorn as Kim Wixler. She returns. Everybody should be excited about that. The remaining cast: Carol Burnett as Marion, Pat Healy comes back as Jeff, Tina Parker as Francisca, Sandrine Holt is Cheryl Hamlin, Kevin Sussman is Mr. Link, Alvin Cowan is Glenn, and John Koyama is Emilo Koyama. I guess I was interested. I kept thinking, am I reading that right? Because the character and the actor had the same last name.
Wow.
Thinking, okay, I guess that just saves the time on that way. And of course, there is a special appearance by Aaron Paul, also known as Jesse Pinkman. This episode was written and directed by Vince Gilligan. And we do have some two songs. We have Escape, the Pina Colada song by Rupert Holmes, which we found out is still alive, and The Tide is High by Blondie. Okay, Jay, you're up because you are the Coldplay man.
Yes. I am here to talk about this episode, starting with the cold opening, where it starts off in black and white, and in color. Let me get back. It starts off in color, where we see Saul Goodman in his element as a lawyer, and waiting for people to come through and do his lawyer bit. But the Coldplay is pretty simple. I won't belabor it too long. It's pretty simple, where we see Saul Goodman at his desk, and he shows us his papers, his divorce papers for with Kim, that they are getting divorced.
Okay. Let's back up a little bit. We start off where Saul is throwing a tennis ball against the wall. So we have that going on. And then he gets a call. I guess he's keeping people waiting as he tosses this ball back and forth against the wall. And then, so we just think it's Saul being in deep throat, but I meant deep throat. Oh, God. Deep thought. Not deep throat, but deep thought. I guess that reference went over everybody's head except for me. So that's where we start off with. And then, he is So now we find out that he's looking. He's Kimmy has come in to sign the divorce papers,
Yes.
and that's why he's. And I guess she's waiting out there too. He's keeping her waiting. You know,
And
not
he did his famous Bluetooth in his ear bit and telling her let her in. And that's kind of how it ends off the cold opening. At this time, it ends where Saul Goodman tells Francesca to bring her in.
right, right. So they come in, and so the date that this paper was filed or whatever to sign it is May 6th, 2004.
Mm. Yeah, I
So,
didn't know that part.
well, I kind of froze frame it and I noticed it when it was going by. I thought, what's that date?
Uh-huh.
Because, I mean, I try to, I
It's like
kind of, I usually check out to see if what they've written is something that could be actually true or a bunch of gibberish. So if you don't pay attention, it might just say blah 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 blah. But this actually looked like an official document. So kudos to the prop department for making this Brit actually look legit.
yes.
Okay, so it's a dissolution, and they both sign it.
Uh,
And
I
go
don't. I
ahead,
mean,
Dave.
not yet. Not yet. I mean, I think later on in this episode we'll definitely get into where they conversate as far as signing the papers, but they left it off as far as that's kind of what gold play or code openings are all about. It keeps you kind of in suspense. So that's kind of where it left off at this time. Then it's going to get
Well,
back to the middle of it.
yeah, but later on they do sign it, and there's really nothing much to do about that. But that's the
A
end
little
killer.
bit. A little bit. I mean, they
So
share about some things, how, I mean, they show how Saul is. So, I mean, I guess we could get to it when we get to that level.
yeah, but this really bothers Jimmy. I guess I call him Jimmy when he's with Kimmy because that's what Kimmy calls him, Jimmy. Doesn't she? Is a, I don't think she calls him Saul. I think she
No,
just says Jimmy
no.
all the time. So I mean,
Always Jimmy. Yeah.
she didn't fall for this Saul crap. She just said, "You're Jimmy. Deal with it." But he, but his he had a different persona when he was a lawyer, Saul Goodman, as we know,
Exactly.
and so yeah, and this is the office that we recognize from Breaking Bad too, with the big backdrop of the Constitution and
Hmm.
all that good stuff. So
Yeah, it brings back memories.
so anyway, okay, so that ends with them, having the papers, but we know what's about to happen because this is what Kimmy wanted, and we have to break away and do the opening credits, where we have the video tape once again as the opening credits there,
Yes, VHS.
VHS tape, or at least the FX that they did to make it look like a text, like a tape. That was awesome. It's
It
always
was.
awesome when they do that. It's like, okay, because you're trying to figure out, okay, what exactly does that mean? I mean, they keep doing it.
Yes, it's questionable. I'm just wondering about it myself, but I know that if you, I mean, as a rewatch, you can kind of see when they were doing that, you can kind of see a glimpse of a scene that's in the show. And I mean, I'm not sure if you saw that when you did the rewatch where um, Kimmy was at the airport. So it did like a real. If you pause it really quick, you can see that scene really quick. I mean, it's like a split second where they show that, and then we get into the credits. So it was kind of interesting. It's like almost like we're watching, like you were watching a
Right,
recording
right.
or something.
So, well, after the credits, we come back and we're back to seeing Kimmy in
Yes.
Florida. And
Yep.
And this is I mean, I don't know. This is an interesting montage, or not a montage, but a different bunch of split scenes
It is. It
of
is.
her working at the watering, they water lawns, I
Sprinkling,
guess.
sprinkling system or
Sprinkling
sprinkler system.
system place,
Yeah,
which is a far cry from her being an attorney.
exactly.
And also remember, she is also has dark hair now. She's not a blonde anymore.
No blonde, no blonde. Her clothing is different, very bland, not flashy like she was in other episodes with nice for being a lawyer and everything and getting ready to do a case. She was very bland. I mean, the hair, the clothing is totally different.
Yeah.
That's her. Yep.
And so, anyways, the whole thing of her playing the neighborhood neighbor girl woman, where she has people come over for a backyard get
Like
together.
yeah, backyard barbecue or something like that in
It's
Florida.
like, I couldn't imagine Kimmy doing that in Albuquerque, but here she is. So
And one thing I wanted to share with you, did you notice when she was cutting those potatoes and how the boyfriend comes in and asks about the mayo and they mentioned that she had Miracle Whip instead? Perfect.
yeah,
And the way that they were going and talking is, I mean, it's so different in the way we've seen Kim before on how he asked him, what do you think? What do you think about mayo or minute, Miracle Whip? And then she goes back and asks him the same thing. And that's not the Kim we normally is used to. It seems like we know Kim just a straight shooter. She'll just say, okay, fine, I'll just do the Miracle Whip. But she's very passive. That's one thing I was wondering if you when you were watching this scene with the boyfriend, or do you have a little different take?
I just think it's the most boring conversation two people could have. Mayo or Miracle Whip. I'm thinking,
For potato salad.
I'm sure that Kimmy has a preference, but the boyfriend is so wishy washy, like Charlie Brown. I don't. He doesn't have. They're well. I mean, I mean, I don't know. To me, it's
He's
like,
bland. He's very bland.
what's a bland conversation? It's like that's nothing like. But anyway, yeah, you're right. It's not the greatest conversation, but maybe some many people may discuss this. Well, Miracle Whip or Mayo, and it's like, but I think that scene just was to show us how bland this thing was and how bland Kim was.
Right.
Because here she
Right.
is. Well, what do you think? Well, what do you think?
Hmm.
But at this point in time, they have no choice because he's already bought the Mayo.
Exactly. It's no.
So she's going to have to make do with the Mayo.
Hmm.
So then,
Exactly.
well, the thing is, they had this thing and they have the thing and they talk about then it's weird. They had the discussion about the woman that brought the deviled eggs
Yes.
and they were all complimenting this. And it's like, you know, what is this?
And the song "Period Cloud" is playing in the background.
Yeah, but this is how people converse when they get together in certain neighborhoods. They talk about, well, look at the deviled eggs, and she sets her
Hmm.
back. Then she sets the potato salad on the table, and so it was interesting how boring that was.
Yeah, she's
And
always in the back. She was never in the front. She's always in the back of. I mean, even when she was talking to the other ladies, she was in the back.
well,
So
yeah,
different.
she doesn't want to draw attention to herself,
Exactly.
but she was always she didn't do anything to upset the boat. I mean, she played along. She didn't, you know. So, because after we leave this, we see her in the office, and it's someone's birthday, and the woman goes, "Well, I'm going to pick up the cake after work," and she goes, "Well, what do you think? Does she like vanilla or strawberry?" And Kemi's like,
Exactly.
"They're both
Oh,
good."
they're both good.
She didn't pick a side. She just
Nope.
said they're both good. Yeah, they're both good. So then later on, this is what. So when they're out on break at the place, this was kind of humorous. It was like they're talking about the one woman's. Well, they don't hear about crack anymore, and all of a sudden they stop taking crack. It's not on, and then she goes, "What's that other drug that makes everybody, feel warm inside and all that stuff?" They go, "Well, it's ecstasy." And they, oh yeah, she goes, and they put a pacifier in their face, in their mouth. I never heard that before, but
Me
I don't know
neither.
anything about ecstasy that much to know. And what gets me is the woman who says, "If I saw a grown person buying a pacifier, I'd call the police, wouldn't you?" I'm thinking, you would? You'd call the police if someone bought a pacifier. Oh, yeah, then you'd find yourself being charged with, an unlawful call. I mean, yeah, you can do that, but you're the one's going to get in trouble because there's nothing against the law buying a pacifier, as far as I know. Maybe unless the laws are different in Florida, maybe it is against the law in Florida to buy a
Maybe.
pacifier.
Maybe.
But I
Just
just
don't know.
thought, really, you would call the police if someone went through your line and bought a pacifier? I'd call the police. Why? I mean, the pacifier doesn't mean it's for that person that's buying it. You don't know if that person has a baby. Anyway, I thought but that's the way some people are. Well, if I saw that, I'd call the police. And I doubt that they would. So it's just funny.
It was odd, very odd.
Yep.
Yeah,
So
but
but the whole thing was nothing but to see how boring Kim's life is and how she is playing this role, her role as being this. I'm the office worker. We're neighbors, and I'm neighborly, and there's nothing to see here.
yes, even with the toothpaste scene, also that was interesting. Where in all the other episodes with Jimmy, when they used to do the toothpaste together, and they had the music in the background, you can tell that even she didn't even have a regular toothbrush. I was checking on other episodes to see if this is the first time she actually used an electrical toothbrush to brush her teeth. And all the other episodes with Jimmy and all the other ones, she even had a little joke where Saul or Jimmy came in and said, I'm gonna use your toothbrush." She's like, "No, I don't want you to use my toothbrush. I want you get your own." And she actually used his finger to actually brush his own teeth. So it was just interesting where you saw in this episode where she was by herself, even in the bed scene also, which I think they're boyfriend and girlfriend, so they don't really sleep together. But it was just so different to see her just by herself.
Right, right. And talking about this boyfriend, I'm still trying to figure out. I mean, when we cut to this scene where they've done their dishes, they've cleaned up, they're in the
Hmm.
bedroom, they're making love, and this guy's
Yep.
just going, "Yeah, yeah,
Yep. Yep.
yeah." But I'm
Yep.
thinking, oh my god,
I never heard
how
that before.
annoying would that be for a woman listening to this? Yeah, yeah, yeah. And for me, I'm just thinking she's just laying there waiting for it to be all over.
Yes.
She's not having a good time at all, but it's her boyfriend. But this guy, I don't know. It just seems so odd to hear him keep saying that, and I don't. And it just bothers. It was like, why did we have to see that? Was that part of like, okay, she's has a boyfriend, they sleep together, and he has this thing where he goes, yep, 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 and it's like,
Yep.
oh my god, shut the fuck up and bang. I mean, just shut up. I mean, what the hell are you doing, dude? But that I guess there's another part where he's having a good time and she's just, well, here I am.
Just in the mood, in the
wake
motion.
wake me when you're done.
Right. That word is going to be in our heads from now on. Yep.
Yeah. So
She
I'm
even
just
said it too.
I'm just thinking that we saw all these scenes where she is just playing a role again, not an evil role, not a role where
No,
she's long game. Well, kind of the long game because she doesn't want to she doesn't want to draw attention to herself, and she doesn't want to make sure that she doesn't get drawn in to Saul. So you got to remember, like you said, this is black and white. So this is the current time.
exactly.
This isn't back after they broke up and she moved to Florida.
No,
This is during the time. We're back to the future where Jimmy's in Nebraska and she's in Florida.
exactly. Yes. With
So
all his antics,
and this
all
is
his things he's
after
done,
everything's gone down
all
with
down.
Walter White, and now he's wanted. So now she knows that, oh my God, he's the most wanted criminal almost in the country because he helped with this drug empire.
Exactly.
So
Yes.
she knows how
Jimmy
deep
knows
he
that.
is in. So she
Yeah.
knows she can't stick her head up because if she does, she might get caught, right? Or
Exactly.
get her
Yes.
head chopped off because, even though she's no longer hasn't been with Jimmy for a couple years or 5 years maybe,
6.
6 years, doesn't matter. If they find out that where she's at, the feds will come and question her, even though it was before all this mess. So she has to
Exactly.
make sure the feds don't come knocking on her door and disrupting her life.
1%. That's why her life was so bland and
Yeah.
just way out of her field of what she used to be as a lawyer.
So that's what that is. And so later on, Jimmy calls her at the office. I mean, he finally calls her and gets through. He's tried to call before and hung up, like last
Right.
episode. But now he calls her. I can't remember the fake name. I was going to look it up.
Vincent.
What was that?
Vincent St. Clair. Vincent St. Clair.
Did you look that up?
Uh, that's actually the name that he's used in the past of the times he's done it with, even the one where he's doing it with the guy, the drugs and things like that, and making them a little sleepy. That's one of his alias names is Vincent St. Clair, and that's what he asked or told the receptionist that's who she's getting ready to talk to Kimmy. But I believe that name has been used before. And I think that's why when you saw Kimmy's reaction to her, to the receptionist saying that name to him, it was almost like a code word because he didn't want to say Jimmy or he didn't want to say Saul because you never know if someone was actually listening in on the telephone. So that's why I think he used his one of his alias. And you saw how she closed the blinds and was so like hesitant and closed the door, and she stood there at the telephone just for like 2 or 3 seconds, looking at it, saying, "Oh my God, I don't know if I want to answer this phone," because I think she knew who it was. She did because that name, I think
Right.
that was familiar to her because they used to do cons with other people in the past. And I think he used that name before, and it kind of made her really nervous. I mean, I can tell she was really nervous. And that's when we get to the part where she answers the phone. And I think this is the part we hearing here is exactly from the last episode, Breaking Bad, where we saw Jimmy at the telephone booth and we didn't hear anything. We didn't rehear the conversation. Now we're actually hearing the conversation, which is very, I mean, it's great TV. Great TV where the other episode was Breaking Bad where we didn't hear anything, and this time we're actually hearing them talk or what Jimmy was saying to her and with how Kimmy reacted.
Right. Okay. Well, what I've come up with that there was a Vincent St. Clair in a movie called Hollywood Story.
Yeah.
So, and he played a screenwriter that was writing a script about a murder. So, anyway, there may be some reference there, but so that could be where it came from.
Mm.
And uh, so, yeah, he calls her on the phone and she tells him you better come clean. And she's like, well, he's like, well, calling the pedal black or whatever the hell the saying goes. And then she goes, I'm glad you're doing well, and hangs up.
Hangs up, exactly.
Yep.
In Breaking Bad, we saw his reaction, which was not that great, where he broke the glass on the telephone booth and banged the telephone. And now we're actually seeing the part on her end, how she respond or what she did next. What was her next game?
And make sure no one gets confused. We're talking about episode 12, episode 11 called Breaking Bad, not the TV series.
Correct. Yes, the last episode that we did our rewatch. Correct.
I don't. Yeah. So there you have it. And
she was just standing there, just kind of, and then we cut into, like you mentioned before, the birthday scene where the receptionist comes in and says, "Are you ready?" And she was just like startled for a second because she was just so in tune to that last conversation she had with Saul or Jimmy. And then she was in the background again at the happy birthday. She was, I mean, all the other people, you can see their Florida shirts is all flowery and everything. And you can see, if it was in color, you can see how bright it was and flashy. But you can imagine her clothing in that scene was very bland, like I mentioned before. So she was in the background saying happy birthday. And that's kind of how it ended. And we get into the next scene after that.
Right. And so, I mean, yeah. So, and I mentioned to you before, I just kept thinking they spent too long on this whole thing, her whole backstory there. I don't think we needed to go that far into it, that much stuff. But of course, that's me. Did you think that it went on a little bit too long there, or you didn't really notice anything?
In my opinion, Richard, I don't think so. I mean, I felt like it was the timing of everything was pretty accurate as far as the flow, as far as getting the idea of what Kim life is after the situation with Saul Goodman and everything of him fleeing the town of Albuquerque and everything. So it was, I think it was the timing was good to explain everything, to kind of get a question of what she's doing. I mean, we kind of really need to know. I know they could have had a whole episode possibly with Kimmy on her story after the situation with Saul, but I think they did a good enough amount of time, in my opinion, to share with the fans and everyone how she's doing.
Yep. 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 Yep.
That's it right there. Yep, that was it.
That was
the boyfriend.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Maybe.
Maybe.
But they have more boring conversations. So, and I don't know. I just think it dragged on too long. But if you thought it was great, that's your opinion, and that's a nice opinion. But my opinion is like, well, we could have cut a lot of that out because. But I guess I'm thinking that because we only got 2 episodes left, and to me, it's like, well, it's like episode 1. Okay, well, yeah, we have time, but now we're getting down to the nitty gritty. But still, I guess it does show how bored she probably is with this, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And one thing, as far as that conversation on the telephone, I think one thing I wanted to bring up on that telephone conversation is how Jimmy reacted to Kimmy's saying, "Why don't you turn yourself in?" And then he comes and gets all upset and says, "Why don't you do the same thing? You're so all whole highly miley and everything." So, and then one thing was interesting when he was talking to her, he was mentioning all the people that was affiliated with the shooting of Howard. He mentioned that Lalo's gone, Nacho's gone, and even Mike is gone, which is all accurate. I mean, every single person that dealt with that, even Gus Fring is gone. He even mentioned Gus Fring on the telephone conversation with Kimmy. And then he mentioned Lalo, which he said question, he's hoping he's down. Yeah. But it was interesting on that scene where they were talking and again, he was kind of giving her the riot act, but it's true. There's actually no one.
And that's what the kettle calling the pot black. That's what he said. Well, it's like the kettle calling the So
exactly.
Here, I've got a picture of you busy at work. There it is. That's you busy at work there, Jay.
Playing good old solitaire.
That's you, Jay, going, oh, yeah. Yeah, I got a lot of work to do today. Don't bother me. I'm busy.
Right.
But who hasn't done that, right?
Right.
But it shows her. I mean, we even showed her on the factory floor going over parts. I mean, if anything, she's taken this job very seriously. And there she is on the phone talking to Saul. So, and whatever she's doing, I mean, she seems to be playing this role. Okay, I got to go down, blah, blah, blah. But it ends with her hanging up on Jimmy because Jimmy, he calls and they get into an argument about all this crap, which he goes, what are we talking about this for? Blah, blah, we're free and clear.
Yes.
Why are we talking about this? We're all free and clear. Not knowing that, calling her could jeopardize being free and clear.
Exactly.
So, and I guess, he's waited, 6 years to call her then?
6 years. It's been 6 years. He told her, can't believe it. It's been 6 years.
Yep. And I guess now that, once again, he's in Nebraska. He's all alone.
Yes. All by himself. No friends, nobody. Still lonely.
I mean, a lot of this episode has to do with Kimmy.
Correct.
So after the phone call, everything's settled. And then Kimmy, guess what she does?
She flies over back to Albuquerque.
Exactly.
Flies out Albuquerque. And then, I mean, I don't know. Maybe this is just like we were like digging deep, like you said, balls deep, like we mentioned. One thing that caught my eye when she was standing there getting ready to get picked up from the bus at the airport, they turned and they put like all the listing of all the airplanes, companies, and everything. And one of the airplane company was Alaska.
Right. I did see that.
You did see that.
And guess who's in Alaska?
Exactly. That's what caught my attention. So we're definitely going balls deep on our comments when it comes to these episodes. It's kind of links together things. And Mr. Jesse, is out in Alaska.
Yeah. So as a throwback to Jesse. And as far as we know, he's the only one that got away.
Yes.
There is no other, unless you want to count Huey. He really wasn't a main player, if you know what I mean. I guess.
Yeah.
Then he was in Louisiana, right? He went back to Louisiana anyway, so
yeah,
he's in Louisiana, and probably he got his his little flaw. He probably got to get out of free jail when he helped with the part getting Walter with the money and all that stuff. So maybe they didn't. Plus, he was too little of a fish to actually go after.
Exactly. Yeah. False pretenses. I mean,
Yeah.
they did. I mean, it was wrong what they did, but they got what they wanted.
Yeah. Well, he didn't really do too much wrong. He just pickpocketed Jesse. Who cares, right? He didn't really do
Yeah.
much wrong. He just bodyguarded Saul. So, and they probably whether he left in time or not, but if he didn't leave in time, they still questioned him. They still got him and questioned the guy. And maybe not because nobody was in that room except for Hank and his partner.
That's it. Yes.
Remember that was off the books.
It was. Yes.
Him being in there. I mean, Huey could have walked out at any time and no one could have done jack, but he didn't know that. They
He
scared
didn't know. He was terrified.
They scared him at half to death. But anyway,
but that kind of caught my attention, seeing that little tidbit of the
Alaska,
Alaska. And then
So
we
he-
go into
so
it.
she goes. Well, her first stop is the courthouse.
Yes, and you saw at the entranceway the ticket booth. No mic. They had an automated system.
Yeah.
Automated system kind of brings back in the first episode of Breaking Better Call Saul, where we saw Mike as a parking stopper. So it was interesting where she drove up and saw that she had to push the button to get the ticket, and then you see the little automation on the other side. So they don't even do that no more.
No, it saves money.
It
You
does.
You don't got to pay someone to take in your ticket and click it or whatever. So
That's how.
it's a money saving thing. But she goes there, and we wonder why she's there, but
Right.
she's there. So we see her go, and then we see her get in the elevator, and then
she sees someone that like her old self getting another guy actually ready to go into court like what she used to do. And she turned and saw that, and she kind of, you can see on her face, she's really kind of like reminiscing the time when she used to be in that position where that lady was fixing the guy, put on his tie and getting him dressed to get ready for court.
Yeah, you're right. So, but
brings back memories.
But then comes one of the most important scenes in this show.
Yes.
After the courthouse, she makes another stop. And this stop is very important, very telling, and took a lot to do for Kimmy to go in here. And she visits Howard's wife. Howard's wife. And
yes,
she actually, she comes clean, right?
Totally comes clean. Gives her, I guess you call that affidavit. Is that the right word?
Yeah.
In writing. That's why she went to court, to explain what her doing was with that situation.
Yep. And she reads this affidavit and she has this expression on her face because she can't believe what she's reading, right, Jay?
Exactly. She was totally, I mean, you could almost feel the tension in her, in how she was reading it. You could see the tears in her eyes. And when she got to the part where he got murdered, you could just see her just cover her mouth like, oh my God. Just totally flabbergasted on how she was been told these lies all this time, and now you're reading something that is totally different from what she was believed. It was hard. It was hard for both sides. Hard for Kim and hard for Howard's wife to actually. I think It was hard for both, I think, but I think it was really harder for Kim, in my opinion, to be sitting there because you have no idea how she's going to react. She could have got up and started swinging at her. She could have got up and started like cussing her out. You just don't know, and that's why I know Kim was like, "Oh my God, I don't know what she's going to do to me." After reading what really happened to Howard.
Well, I don't think she's that type of person anyway. But
You never know. You never know. When you get in that level of something happening like there, she's reading it. You just have no idea how people will react to things. She was just totally shocked.
see, that's she's reading it. She's reading it. There
And
it
when she
is.
gets to the part
We
with
faked
the
his
murder.
death. We faked his death. So, and you look, and as you say, she's reading this thing in complete awe. She's just like, oh my gosh. So she
She
has,
stands up. Say, why? She asked that question. Why?
yeah, because she's at the wrong place at the wrong time.
Exactly. That's it. That was Kim's response.
Well, it's true.
It's very true.
There's no
Very
lie
true.
there. I mean, we didn't know Lalo was going to come in there and start and kill him. We didn't
No.
expect him to walk in the door at all. We thought he was, well, except for Kim. Jimmy thought he was dead, but Kim knew he was alive. But he walks
Right.
in, shoots him, and we know what happened next. But that's, and she's like, "What will the police do?" And well, she asked where the body is, and Kim's like, "I don't know.
Yep. Don't
We
know.
know where it is."
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Of
So
the myth.
unless they dig deep enough when they clean out that burnt up lab, they may find the bodies.
They might have.
I'm not saying they might have, they might. I'm just saying now they have, because when you go in, it's destroyed, so they have to go out and clean up, right?
Right.
So they may dig deeper to try and get all that stuff out. They may dig the extra feet
Under the
needed to find
concrete.
the bodies.
Right. Under the
That's something
concrete.
we won't know, but there's always that possibility. They go, where all these bodies come from,
Right. Right.
And plus, who knows how painstakingly they may clean up the area, knowing that it was a meth lab at one time.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe they might. But anyway, that's where they are. And then she goes, well, I can sue you for everything you got. And she goes, yeah, you could. You can. At this point, she doesn't have, I don't know how much she had, but she goes, yeah. And she goes,
Yep.
well, the police will. She goes, about the police. Well, I'm sure they'll look, but they'll never find him.
Yes. Yep. She was given all the answers that she can do, and which was right. That's all.
Yeah, because
That's all she had to say.
his wife Cheryl probably wants to bury him, right? Wants to find the body to give him a proper burial, but I don't know.
She can't even do that.
Oh, no. Because Kim didn't know. And the people that do know are dead.
Yes. All of them are dead. Yep.
Because not even Jesse and Walt knew there was bodies underneath their lab. They didn't even know that. They spent all this time working down there and didn't know there were bodies underneath their lab.
Yeah.
And I guess in hindsight, that's kind of weird and kind of funny at the same time. Like, what if Walt knew there were dead bodies underneath his lab? Would he stop or would he just go, whatever? Money to be made. There's money.
That's all he counts. That's all he counts is money and family.
Well, I'm just saying, maybe Lalo deserved it, but not Howard.
No.
Howard was the innocent one in there. Lalo, he was kind of a loose end, loose cannon, killing, but you have Howard who just, his only crime was he's kind of an asshole. And he wasn't that bad of an ass, but he was an asshole, but he was also a great lawyer. So, I mean, you really can't. And as we know, everyone that's great is an asshole. I mean, Michael Jordan was an asshole. Everybody's an asshole when you're great. You know, I mean, that's just part of the turf. Which is why except for me, I'm an asshole, but I'm not great. So it did work for me. So, but yeah, this whole powwow thing, just her coming clean, and she filed this paper with the court. That's why she went to the court to give them this affidavit. So now they have it, and she asked what will happen, and she goes, "I don't know. It's up to the prosecutor if they want to prosecute."
And the last thing that comes out the Howard's wife's mouth, asking Kim, why are you doing this now? And we didn't really get an answer. I mean, they kind of left it kind of blank. I mean, I know why she was feeling guilty, of course, but we don't actually hear her say that to Howard's wife in that episode, in that scene. We just see her getting back in the car and driving. Looks like back to Florida. It was like a 1-day trip. It looks like it was just 1-day trip where she goes there and goes back home.
Well, did you say she did get to Florida?
Say again?
Did you say she drove back to Florida?
She fly.
Yeah.
I don't know if I said drove, but she flew.
Maybe I misheard you, but yes. But I
think I meant the driving part. I was just saying driving to the airport.
Oh.
After she was at Howard's wife's house, she drove herself to the airport to go back home.
Right, and you know, and if they do choose to prosecute, well, they know where she's at, so they'll go pick her up in Florida and bring her back.
Yes, it's up to.
So now she has that worry on top of her shoulder. Like any moment, the DEA could be busting down my door.
That's right.
I mean, this is not the local thing, Jay. This is federal now because she's talking about murder and drugs, and so we got DEA, FBI. You know, this is not going to be the local police force. They'll be involved, but they're the ones that are going to do the heavy lifting.
Exactly. It's scary. I mean, I can imagine Kim is extremely terrified on the repercussions of her actions, but I was think at least she has not a guilty conscience no more. She put it out there. I'm thinking that from the conversation she had on the telephone with Jimmy, kind of made her maybe think about maybe going out there to talk to Howard's wife and come clean. So it's like I think that's kind of made her feel that way. But I know it was extremely hard, and I know she's worried.
Well, I think she did it because of how Jimmy kept saying, "Well, why don't you do it, Miss High and Mighty?" Or, calling,
Yes.
the kettle black or whatever, the pot black, and she just said, "You know what? This is always going to hang over me. I'm going to be doing this all my life. I'm just going to get rid of it." It's been 6 years, and Howard, he just calls out of the blue. Who knows when he'll call out of the blue again?
Right.
And she doesn't want Jimmy calling her. She's trying to put all this behind her if she can. And Jimmy just 6 years later calls her. It's like, oh my God, I don't want to go through this crap anymore. I mean, all right, maybe Jimmy's right. Maybe I should do the right thing. And she did. So even though she knows the consequences, she can say, okay, I've got it out there. I can breathe a little bit I can't breathe easier, but it's out there. I can just say, okay, everybody knows everything. And now let's see where the chips fall.
That was what happened.
Because, yeah. I mean, woo! I mean, That first half with Kimmy was very explosive, Jay.
It was. It really was. That that scene, that scene in the air in the bus, get ready to um, just you could just feel the emotion, intent, and feelings that she had when she was sitting there. And watching that scene is truly, I would say, the reason why this episode was called Waterworks is because of the scene right here with Kim showing her her emotions. And through all the episodes that we see with Kim, we haven't never seen her in this being this vulnerable. We always see her strong and confident and just knowing everything. But this is the first time we have really see some emotion coming out of her. And when I saw this scene for the first time, I got teary eyed myself because I could just feel the guilt that she had with the situation that happened, which was not her doing. It was she was in the wrong place at the wrong time also, but she has part of the doing of the skimming of Howard and things that part, and I think that's why that she felt this emotion was coming out when she was there. So this was, I mean,
Right.
she's a good actress. I would say that I want to relay that on our rewatch that we're doing for Breaking Bad and let everyone know that she is an awesome, wonderful actor.
Right. And you can see the different pictures there of her crying right there.
Yes, it just came out. It just came out, and that happens sometimes with something so emotional. It comes out. It just really, I mean, it came out. It really did. And the lady right beside her was very. I mean, you could feel the sympathy. The lady that was right beside her in the bus stopped, putting her hand on her shoulder,
It's right
just
there. See
kind
it?
of giving it comfort. Yes,
Right there, Jay. See it?
exactly. Yes.
So, uh, what did you mean that Kimmy was at the wrong place at the right time? At the wrong time?
Uh, I'm thinking it was kind of. I mean, I know it's Howard. I mean, I'm thinking it was. I mean, all of them was kind of at a wrong place. I mean, the whole situation with Lalo, Jimmy, Kim, Howard, it was just it was just awful. And I think and that's I mean, I'm thinking maybe I'll maybe retract that, maybe in the sense that maybe she wasn't at the wrong place, the wrong time. I would say more that it was just a bad day. I mean a bad situation. And she was part of that situation where Howard was shot and killed.
Okay, but she instigated the thing, Jay.
That's why I mentioned it. I mean, I mentioned that part, saying that
But
she was part of.
you're not at the wrong place at the wrong time if you instigate it.
Yeah, I guess you could say that in the sense.
I mean, you brought this whole thing coming crashing down because of what you did or what her and Jimmy did.
Her and
Right?
Jimmy
There
did,
is no Howard was the only one that did the wrong time, wrong place. The rest were like,
they're a part of it. Yeah,
they,
except for Lalo.
but she just remember Jimmy wanted out and she's like, no, let's keep going. So she instigated the whole Howard thing. So you can also have her partially blamed for Howard getting shot.
I agree. I agree with that, and that's
Because
why we saw her emotion.
right. But I'm just saying that I mean not to be nitpicky, but there was no wrong time, wrong place for her because
I see.
she wouldn't have instigated if she would let Jimmy just stop. this whole train of fucketry would not have happened. So I'm not trying to be nitpicky, but I'm just trying to clarify, like, how was she at the wrong place at the wrong time? Because she was part of the planner. She was the, she probably did, I mean, she probably did most of the planning. She probably was better at it than Jimmy. So
she was.
But I don't want her getting off scot-free, like saying, "Oh yeah, she's at the wrong." No, she wasn't. She was never at the wrong place at the wrong time. Because she knew just how. And and because we can't give Jim. I know we all like Kimmy, but we can't give her a pass.
No,
that's what I'm saying. We can't give her a pass. We just can't. I mean, I like Kimmy too. She's kind of a cutie, but I'm not going to give her a pass because of anything. I mean, she was just as probably. Yeah, but anyway, that's my thinking. I'm not, her and Jimmy were like this ultimate planning machine that they wanted to get even, and they did, or they wanted to make someone look bad, and they did. I mean, Kimmy even turned around during that interview, which would have catapulted her career to the stratosphere, to come back to film this stupid commercial or these pictures that they were going to use later on. So Kimmy chose everything she wanted to do. And, it's unfortunate because she was a good lawyer. And that probably made her a good character too. And the thing is I wish we could have went further back in her backstory. It would have been interesting to see if her mom was alive and if Kimmy ever confronted her, saying, "Look, I'm a lawyer now. Screw you." I just, you know what I mean. But they didn't have time for it. But
no, that would have been it. That would have been good to go back in time with the mother.
Yeah,
that would have been it. That would have been really a good part of seeing.
Well, I don't think. Well, maybe your mom. We're not really sure if her mom thought that she was a loser or not, but she just knew that her mom was a loser. I mean, but we don't know. But I imagine Kimmy got good grades throughout school anyway, so there was nothing really to bang. I mean, I don't know what they were like at home because we never got to see that part. But
no, we only saw her as a young girl. But
my feeling is that Kimmy got good grades, got into a good college, and got a law degree. So, I mean, it seems like no matter what was happening in her past life as a young child, teenager, she kept her grades up and was able to move on. I mean, there might have been some things that got in the way a little bit, but she overcame them. So,
right.
We need a Kimmy story. We need a Kimmy story going back. Better call Kimmy. And then,
yeah.
But yeah, I'm just saying.
You bring up a really good point where you never know, because I think the character or the actor that played Kimmy, she would be open to maybe bringing up or kind of opening the door of her character more. So you never know. You might have just brought up something, Richard, that people might hear later on that they might have another possibly, but I don't know how to close the door on this universe.
But here's the problem with child actors. They keep growing.
Yes.
So the actress that played her at the young age is probably now a teenager, and she might come back and play a teenager, but same actress cannot come back and play her at whatever age she was then.
The age that she was,
12 or 13, being in junior high or whatever, or middle school, if you will. But
right.
But still, because really, that can't be the first time that Kimmy tried to do some shenanigans at a store. Do some 5-finger discount.
There's a lot of other things that could have happened.
Yeah, but anyway, That's a. Uh, but still, yeah, it would be interesting. So after that's all said and done, oh
Go
my
back.
God, we get to leave Kimmy for now because she's on the bus and she's crying. We leave her and we pick up right where Jimmy has decided I'm going to break into this house anyway and get some steal and get his ID, steal his
Exactly.
identification.
The cancer man.
And this turns into a bunch of hijinks as usual when it comes to Jimmy trying to do something himself.
It was. It was.
I mean, think about this. He broke the window to get in. So right there's already a sign that the house has been broken into. You know, it's like boom.
Right.
And if
He
you don't
didn't
hit
care.
that, and if you don't hit that right, and you hit your funny bone, oh my God. Can you imagine that hitting your you know,
Oh,
I don't know if you ever hit your funny bone or not, but that is not the fun thing. That's
no,
not
it isn't. I have.
I think everybody has them, you know. And I don't know why it's called a funny bone because when you do that, there's nothing funny about it.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't.
That's after he broke the window. Let's see. I mean, look there. Look at that. See that crying?
Yeah,
That was real stuff right there.
very.
And look at this. Watch. Here he is. Yeah. See, he broke the window. I don't. And luckily for him, the guy's still asleep.
Yes, with that drug that you mentioned that he
I think
mentioned.
I think he's Mr. Link. That's what his name is, and he's on the floor, passed out. Still, after
in
what
in the living room. Yep.
what did Jeff say? It's been an hour and a half since
Buddy
yeah,
left. Yeah,
yes,
Buddy left.
Buddy left. So he's taking a big gamble, thinking that everything's going to be okay an hour and a half later, and that he won't wake up.
Exactly. And that's
So Jimmy,
that's Gene. That's Gene for you. That's his. He's playing that character. He doesn't care. He's
yeah,
gonna risk it.
but already by breaking the window, he gives it up that the house has been broken into.
Right. Right.
Which could alert this guy to like maybe I need to change all my info now because someone broke in. But anyway, he broke in and he didn't wake up with the glass breaking. He's laying on the floor and Jimmy's he thinks he knows what he's doing.
Yep.
That's what gets me. He thinks he
Even
knows
hit
what he's
the
doing.
piano. Even hit the piano.
Yeah, make sure he was asleep. It's like
Right.
okay. Yeah, but it's just anyway. This whole thing, I mean, it's just the strangest. I don't know why Jimmy would, but Jimmy did. Jimmy didn't want to let go of this fish.
Nope.
And there he is laying on the floor. And
he felt comfortable enough to say, I'm gonna do what Buddy has been doing, go upstairs, take pictures of all the stuff, and pretty much leave. That was the plan. And he went up there, he took pictures, he used the lamp, which was pretty funny. He was using a lamp to try to find out where the actual passwords were for all these accounts, and found out that honestly he had it right under the lamp. And then he actually did find them under the lamp, that those were the passwords. So he got all the information they needed to get everything that he needed, like what Buddy's been doing for all these other scammers, or the marks that he did before.
And there's Jimmy by the piano.
Exactly.
So, yeah. And the thing is that Buddy was a pro at what he was doing. After a while, he knew what the hell he was doing when he got in there.
Yep. And he had that dog.
He had his dog, so he had everything covered when he did this crap.
That's right.
Go ahead, Jay. I mean, this is just the craziest thing.
It was because
And the guy
it
wakes
looked like,
up.
yeah, I mean, it was just crazy. And the thing is that after he found the codes and everything, and it looked like he was going downstairs, and the Jeff pulled up in a taxi, and he was looked like he was getting ready to open a door, and he was pretty much scot free.
Yep.
But for some ever reason, Gene felt too confident that he wanted to do more. So he closed that door and went back upstairs to check the place out more and and he found out the guy was a hat man, and also found out that he likes watches.
Yep.
And
the guy wakes up, passes out the bottom of the stairs, and you can't see it maybe that well, but Gene has that pot, he's gonna knock him out. But the guy passes out again. The guy passes out again. And so
that was crazy.
Now, but here's the thing, you know, Jimmy's trying to get out now, and you said Jeff's parked outside the house. So who pulls up behind Jeff?
The cops.
Oh my gosh, it's the cops.
It's the cops.
Jeff is panicking, and so are we. Because, oh my gosh, the cops are there. They're going to bust him.
Yes.
Until we find out why are the cops there, Jay.
That was so funny. That was a very funny scene. The writers of this show was very funny, and they come up and they were not even worried about this taxi in front. The guy was worried about the amount of meat that he didn't have in his fish tacos.
Right. Okay. Anyway, what they were doing is they were having dinner.
But he was upset about his amount.
But that's why they were there. They were there to have dinner, not talk about his fish. But that he thinks they're there to pull him over. They're just having their lunch. I mean, that's why they're there. I mean, you know, that's why they're there. And like you said, the guy's like, does that look like a fish taco to you? Oh my gosh, Jay. Woo, continue with that, Jay.
Yeah, that was funny. That was funny. His emotion on it was really hilarious when it came to his feeling on how you get how much meat that they give you at this place that they bought it. He was mad. He was mad. He was so upset.
Yeah, but Jeff's freaking out.
He was freaking out. Yes, he didn't know what to do. He was getting ready. I mean, you could see the tension in his hands, and he put the car into drive. He was just so nervous. And then all of a sudden, he puts it in drive. I mean, I was just shaking my head at that part. It's like, what are you doing? He drives off and turns and runs into a parked car.
Well, my thinking is, what makes him think he's going to get away? You know, what makes him think that they're right behind him, and he decides, well, guess what? I'm going to make a run for it. You know? And he is so panicky. There they are talking about the taco thing. See that? The fish. Look at that. What the hell is this thing? What is this thing? And he's sitting there, and we're still talking about that. Now, and there he goes. Well, that's the cops going, but this is, I mean, it's just too funny. This guy just wants to, if he would have just sat there and kept his cool, nothing would have happened.
Nothing would have happened.
There he goes. I'm getting away. I'm getting away. Oops. What the hell was that, Jay? Oh my God. He wants to get away, and he crashes into the rear end of the vehicle.
Exactly.
Like, oh my gosh. What do you think about that, Jay? That was comical, but Jeff just can't drive under stress, can he?
No, he was his blood pressure was just too high. He couldn't. He just a nervous wreck. It was just a total nervous wreck, and he just didn't know what to do. He literally, like like we said, he just panicked, just straight out panicked. I mean, this is not the second time. This is actually the second time he actually had some type of accident happen to him. The first time it happened is when he was in that mall and running, and then all of a sudden he slipped and fell and bumped his head. So
Yeah.
he's prone to getting into accidents. This is like his second one, and it was his doing. The first one was his doing. He running and slipped and bumped his head, and this one he driving a vehicle and running into a parked car. It's like, my goodness.
Well, I'm just saying, Saul really can pick good partners.
I know exactly. But thank you for the like, who put the like in right now. Thank you so much for watching and liking.
It was Roger,
Oh,
the scorekeeper, the man who keeps the score. So, yeah. So, and Saul, he just uses the distraction to get the hell out of there.
that was it. That was it.
To
That
him,
was
it's
it.
like, oh, okay, this is my getaway. I just walk away. Boop a doop a doop a doop. And he does, goes boop a doop a doo doo, boop a doop a doo doo, and he gets away scot free.
Yes.
He goes to his apartment. He's trying to relax, and he gets a call from his son.
But before that, because I mean we're gonna skip part. I mean, I guess it was not too important, but I think it was a little bit where they actually, after that car accident, they pan back into the cold play or the cold opening, where we see Kim signing the papers. Kim signing the papers off for the divorce, and just seeing Saul, and then Francesca comes in with being a notary, making sure to get the notary done and get the fingerprint and everything done, and you could just see his how he was. I mean, you could definitely see he had no type of remorse or anything at all. And he even asked her about Florida and say, oh, Florida, Florida, Florida. So what's in Florida? Seemed like she was getting ready to say something to him, and then he was like, it doesn't matter. It's like you could just see the emotion that, I mean, he was truly being Saul Goodman. And this was during the time of Breaking Bad. So this is kind of the time we see Kim in color this time, in her regular hair and everything. So it was interesting.
Well, I still think this is kind of before Breaking Bad. But remember,
it was kind of close, because then we're going to get to Jesse. So I know I'll let you share your part.
Well, yeah, but still, they didn't. It's before Saul knows who Heisenberg and Jesse are. We're getting close to it. But the thing is, I remember he said she didn't take any of the Sandpiper money.
And he was surprised. He was mentioning that to her. I'm surprised you didn't take it. That could have he could have put a lot of pawns or something. He put like a little comic on her on. Okay, I mean, on not doing it.
What's Florida famous for, Jay?
Swamp.
Right, swampland. You could have bought a lot of swampland.
Exactly.
Which, of course, is a joke, because I mean, it's kind of making a joke, but I mean, it's just like that thing. I've got some swampland I want to sell you, if you believe something like you. Whatever. It's one of those things where, well, if you believe that, I got some swampland I can sell you in Florida, but which is a bad investment. But I'm surprised that she didn't take that either. I guess I don't know what her reasoning behind that was, because that
she felt guilty.
About what? It's Sandpiper money.
But the way it happened, I mean, like you mentioned before, when you mentioned, which brings up Kim again, and how I relayed that she was not really at the wrong place at the wrong time. You brought it right, is that she felt guilty because she actually messed up the situation with Howard to make this happen, for them to give the money out. They were, I mean, eventually it was going to happen, of course.
Right.
But the timing of this was made that way is because of what they did and how Howard was reacting to the drugs he was having in his system and how he was acting and looked kind of puzzled and everything. So they just said, let's settle this. Let's close it out and let's settle it. But I think that's why I think Kimmy was feeling guilty because she was part of that. Like you mentioned before, she was part of the situation with Howard, and Howard actually caused them to mess up the situation for the Sandpaper case because of his actions.
Right.
So I think that's kind of why she just didn't want to take. She just wanted to I guess just put her hands out and just say, "Now I'm not dealing with anything that happened in that situation, and I'm on my own."
Right.
She might just right after that, she might have just went to Florida, possibly.
Right. Well, plus you got to. Well, I look at it too. The Sandpiper money wouldn't be part of the dissolution. That's her money, whether regardless if they're married or not. She would
Correct.
have got a check. So she,
No matter what.
but she must have went somewhere else and said, "Look, I don't want any of that money." So she probably had to go back to
The courthouse.
Hamlin and say, not Hamlin, but to lawyers saying, "Look, I don't want any of that money." Unless that was going to be treated as communal property already. But I'm just thinking they weren't married that far enough. Well, they probably just could have had this thing annulled and been done with it.
Yeah.
I mean, they weren't married long, really. I mean, you think about it, they were just, wasn't like they were in this year-long marriage. It was very short.
It was very, very short.
So anyway, well, I agree with you. She was guilty. She just wanted to wash her hands of it and get the hell out and go to Florida and take it from there. Well, he also talked about hurricanes too. Or was that on the phone? Maybe that was the phone call he was talking about hurricanes. But, that's Saul trying to be funny, and sometimes it just doesn't come off. He just says something and it's like, no, wait a minute. I mean, you may act like a clown, but you're never going to be a stand-up. So...
Right, exactly.
So, yeah. Okay, so that must have been when I froze the screen and saw that it was May 6, 2004 when they got divorced.
Mm-hmm.
So that means he doesn't contact her again until 2010. So that's and that's after everything with Walt is all said and done.
Exactly. Yes.
Let's go over this real quick. If you're done here, we can move on to the next thing that I wanted to discuss.
Is it with Jesse, or are you're implying to?
Them signing the papers. Yeah, I want to go where Jesse and her are sharing a smoke outside.
Yes, that was a cool scene. Very cool scene.
I'm going to say something to you, and you may or may not agree with it.
Go ahead.
I do not believe Aaron was playing Jesse correctly. I think that whole character was not Jesse. The way he talked, the way his cadence of his voice. I'm just saying I didn't feel Jesse Pinkman in that scene.
I'm trying to think of your comment on that, and when I watched it and I kind of looked over it, it was great to see him and everything and how he was playing, but I think that Jesse that we saw there was possibly not like the Jesse that was we didn't really know Jesse that much in that scene when it was raining, because I believe that one that we saw him in there talking with Kim was even before meeting Walter White. I think it was even before that, because he mentioned a character that was not even in play, a guy named Combo. And Combo, and then he mentioned about another guy, Emilio, which was Crazy Eight. So those two characters was even before Walter White. So possibly, I mean, he was still Jesse, but maybe not the Jesse that we knew after he met Walter White.
What's up with this shit?
Rainy.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. Like bananas, all this rain. I mean, I thought we were like in a desert, you know? You're a lawyer, right? Ah, I recognize you. You defended my buddy Cabo. Christian Ortega, Juvie Court, Soul Baby Jesus. I mean, not like a real baby, just a, one of those things outside of the church.
Nativity scene.
Yeah.
Knights of Columbus.
I mean, what the hell did he even want that thing for? Huh? I mean, I still don't know. Dumbass.
See that whole, I don't see it. I don't see it at all. The way he's talking, the way I don't see it. I just think that this scene I think this scene was just written to give Kim and Jesse some FaceTime.
Yeah, of course, it was.
Well,
I mean,
we don't need it.
We didn't need it.
We didn't need
I mean,
it.
it was not needed, but it was just a good thing to have, I think. And I mean, the last thing she said, which was very poignant, and I think that's why they put the scene in there, is Jesse asked that question, how is he as a lawyer? And Kim mentions to him, that when I knew him, he was. So it's kind of feeling that sadness that she has with the guy that's there now compared to the guy that she used to knew, which was Jimmy.
Right. Well, I get that. Look, I get that. She's like, he was when I knew him, but that Jesse, that's not the right Jesse. And plus, now so that whole thing of going back to Breaking Bad, when Walter and him were sitting outside his office and they're like going, this is the lawyer you choose. Would you choose this lawyer? And just like, well, I would, and so to me, that was the first time he heard of Better Call Saul was in Breaking Bad. Now we know that there's a precursor.
Yes.
We have knowing Better Call Saul. I'm just saying the cadence just is all off, and the way he says things, it's just way, way off. I mean, he didn't even sound like that when he first met Walter White in the parking lot, in his driveway. I'm just saying, it's just me. It just seems like it's off.
Yeah, it could. I mean, I could see that. I mean, being realistic, I mean, he is older, of course. I mean, that's one thing that definitely portrays this situation, is that they're kind of going back to the future. It's like we can't grab Jimmy, or not Jimmy, but Jesse in a DeLorean and put his body in that part and do it that way. It would have been very, very, of course, challenging and everything. But I think they did their best, and I think even Jesse did his best as far as trying to relive that character also. I mean, it's been a long time. I mean, I think that was even the case with El Camino also, because El Camino, the movie, was kind of going back to the future also, but he was still older on that scene. Mike was older also, even though they were playing in the past. So it's just, I mean, it's tricky, but I can understand your
not
point
tricky.
of view.
You either play a character or you don't. I mean, we are not far off from Walter and Jesse meeting here. This is not that far off right now.
No, it's not. No, it's not. It's
I'm just saying, Jesse or Aaron. I mean, maybe he was trying to portray this different character, maybe younger, but I just the way the words that he used, the phrases that he used, all of a sudden, what disappeared within months before he beats Walter White. Not to beat a dead horse. I'm just saying, for me, it wasn't him playing Jesse correctly. I mean, I'm not talking about going back to DeLorean. I'm talking about him playing this character back then. He was trying to speak like Jesse did back then with yo, but he didn't say yo, and he didn't say bitch. What are you talking about, bitch? You know, he just didn't.
Yeah, I think he was really trying not to. I think they were really. I mean, he was trying to not
he wouldn't say
do
bitch
too much.
He wouldn't say, but he wouldn't say it to Kimmy. But it's just like the voice was completely different. I don't buy it. Yeah, maybe you do, and you're trying to make, and you want to, and I see your point. It's a good point to make, and maybe it's your opinion, so it's right because it's your opinion. But my opinion is that no, they completely screwed this character up in this scene. I mean, there should have been. They should have wrote it more like Jesse, the Jesse that we saw in the driveway when he met Walter White. But I think I just believe they tried to get too different and too cute, and change his verbiage and change some things. And okay, one last time, it worked for you, didn't work for me.
Exactly.
And that's cool if it worked for you, because that means you can sit there and watch it and smile. I gotta go, oh my god, you know, we both have two different expressions for it.
Right.
Anyway, it was a good scene, and the way he was talking, and you know, and him not knowing trying to describe and we remember the character that stole the baby Jesus. I mean, that was way back in Breaking Bad and stuff.
Correct. Yes.
I think that wasn't that one of the things that Jesse said to Walt? Hey, he got my friend off from stealing baby Jesus, you know, and that was part of his recommendation.
Mm-hmm.
So, and plus, you got to remember he was talking about, would you go to a surgeon that made funny commercials? So at that point in time, he didn't have any confidence in Saul.
Right. Yeah.
Look, the dude made some funny commercials, but my friend wants to go here because he saw the commercials.
Right. He saw the commercials.
And so
Emilio.
I guess commercials.
Because Emilio was in trouble. He was in bigger trouble than Combo.
When wasn't he in trouble? And he's going to get in trouble even more when he gets inside Jesse's basement. So.
Yes.
But he'll show up again.
Yes.
I'm just saying, but it was, I mean, for what it was, it did what it was probably supposed to do. I just don't buy anyway. But it was a good thing for her to say, well, yeah, he was when I knew him.
Correct.
Or when I knew him, he was. So right now, Kim doesn't think that he's a great lawyer anymore.
No.
Just thinks, well, let's say, I mean, okay, right now he's an ambulance chaser. He's not trying he's not doing any more sandpiper or anything else. He's just sitting back, letting the criminals come in.
He's a cartel lawyer.
Well, not at that point, he's not. And he slaps neck braces on people to make sure that looks good in court and all that stuff. He was a cartel lawyer then, wasn't he? He was hooked into the cartel, and that helped him get clients too.
Exactly.
But you've got to admit, every time we look at his waiting room, it's full. So he's a busy man getting money hand over fist.
Very true. So true.
So, okay, I'm gonna. Okay, Jay, for what? Just one more time. What the scene was supposed to portray, it did. I just didn't buy into the Jesse character. You bought into this younger Jesse character, which is cool.
Right.
And it
Right.
did prove a point. It took him, but it took him a long time to get there. You know, was he a good lawyer? I mean, I don't know. Maybe that thing could have been. I mean, yeah. If you're going to have Aaron Paul show up, you might as well have him show up for a lengthy part of time too. I mean, why not? Because fans have been waiting for Jesse and Walter for how many years now to show up on Better Call Saul.
Yes, they sure did. They were really looking forward to it.
So right now we have to assume that, you know, Jesse's has his best business going, and Walter is probably still just being a teacher and working at the car wash.
That's right.
So that's probably the time frame that I mean, if she signed that paper in 2005, that would have been just before Walt starts cooking his meth, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So we're getting close to it. And Jesse doesn't know how much he's going to rely on Better Call Saul later on.
No, later on. That's right.
Yep.
Yep.
But I guess maybe he wins the current thing for his friend, and it gives Jesse some confidence to go to him. So anyway, it was a good scene. It was raining. And him talking, oh, is it raining? It's the desert. Well, you know, it does rain in the desert sometimes.
Right.
But and as far as we know, that was the only day it rained that year. So come on.
I know. Cats and dogs.
Could have been that. Yeah, well, it rained today, but that's the last one we'll get until next year. I don't know. I don't know anything about how much it rains in Albuquerque, but yeah, you're right. But it was a good scene. I like seeing Jesse. Plus, he was dressed with his little hat and his little red and yellow and black coat and the yellow and black hat. You know,
Right.
like, yeah, I'm gonna do blah blah blah. You know, which is cool. So, what do you have for us next, Jay?
We go back into the black and white scene, and this is where you mentioned before, where it goes back to Gene leaving, or actually going into the bus and heading back home. And from the situation that he left the scene of a crime, where he actually went in there and he went home, and then he sat down and he did his little magic act with the phone, because he had a feeling he was going to get a call, because he knew that Jeff did wrong by running into that car. So he did that little magic hands on the phone. And then that's when, like you mentioned earlier, that's when Jeff portrayed Gene as Jeff's father, and kind of explained to him what's happening, what has happened, and what needs to be done, and kind of elaborate on it, saying to him that we're gonna take care of you. I think that dad's gonna come. He said, no, I think we're gonna have your mom come and actually pay for this to get you out. So just sit tight, relax, and we'll get this covered. And that's kind of where we lead into the next scene, where Saul, or Gene, talks to Mary on the phone. Early, I guess it was
Yeah,
early.
okay, yeah, I see what you're saying, but you got to remember this was pretty comical in itself when he calls. He goes, "Hey, Dad,"
Yes,
and Gene's going, "Well, what is it, son?" And they play along. They act like this is going on, but remember, they both make sure not to say anything that will make him feel guilty.
exactly.
I don't know. I was just, and you kept thinking, why was he in jail? Because all he did was run into another car. That's a traffic accident. You usually get a ticket and be on your way. But the guy fingered him as a taxi driver. Mr. Link said, well, you're the taxi driver, so I think you broke into my house, so they arrested him.
Exactly.
And
Because
that,
the cancer man come out the house.
Yeah, and
And
so,
the cancer man come out the house.
yeah, and So, and that was part of it there. I mean, but the whole conversation was pretty comical. Him trying to be his father, and his son goes, "Oh no, why are you in jail?" Like he doesn't know why he's in jail. Why are you in jail? Oh wow, this is crazy. And he's like, "Well, don't you worry. I'll get you out of there lickety split. I'll come down or whatever, or I'll call your mother and let her know."
Exactly.
Like, I think there should be a family affair. I want to call your mother, and then she can go down and pick you up. I don't think Saul wants to be anywhere near a jail.
No, not
He
even
doesn't want to walk into a jail knowing that if someone recognizes me, I'm done. So
exactly.
So that was interesting.
It was, and then we get into the conversation that he has with Mary on the telephone, where she comes out and asks that, or I should say, Gene explains to Marion why. I mean, he's in jail, and then she got really stressed and panicking and saying, "This boy is going to be the death of me." It's like he always getting in trouble. When he was in Albuquerque, he did so many different things, and all the money she had to spend, she had to waste her credit card and all this and everything. And
now remember, she said that he took a piss where he wasn't supposed to.
Right.
And then
in Albuquerque. All that was in Albuquerque.
Right. And so she said, "Well, I had to bail him out. I had to use my credit card, which I'm still paying on." And there's a mistake that Jimmy made. And at first you might have thought it was offhand, but Marion's not a stupid person.
No, she was smart.
Caught it. And she caught what he said. What do you think he said that tipped Marion off?
I'll let you share with me, and I'll see if I agree with you.
Okay. She was worried about bail. And then Gene says, "Oh, there's no bail here. You just go down and pick him up." It's not like Albuquerque at all. He mentions, so right away she's like, "Well, how would he know what things are like in Albuquerque?" Right. There was, so Carol Burnett might be 90, but she's still sharp as a tack.
She was.
Because even I didn't even realize that when she first said it. When he first said it, okay. Because sometimes things about other states. Just because you don't live there, you might read it somewhere. Oh yeah, Albuquerque this, Albuquerque. I can probably tell you stuff about another state. Doesn't mean I was there, but anyway, it piques her interest, right?
Yes.
And he says, "You get ready. I'll be there within the hour."
And also mentioned too, why did you call Jean first? Why you didn't call her first? That kind of was in her mindset too. He said, "Why are you calling?"
The excuse was plausible. He didn't want to worry Marion. He didn't want to get yelled at by Marion. He figures, look, I'll call Jimmy. Jimmy will go. Jimmy, that way Jimmy knows. Jimmy's a lawyer. We know that. He knows that already.
Yeah.
And he knows, well, look, I'll just have her go talk to Marion. That way Marion likes Jimmy, so maybe it won't be such a big brouhaha. So it kind of made sense.
Yeah. But she was questioning it. She was kind of odd. She was scratching.
Yeah, but like Gene just said, well, yeah, he didn't want to worry you. He didn't want to, he didn't want to. Put yourself in this place. Do you want to call the person that's going to yell at you over the phone, or do you want to call someone else that can smooth things over?
Of course, the second one for sure.
Yeah, so that's what he was doing. Well, plus he knows Jimmy. Well, plus he knows Jimmy. Jimmy knows what's going on too, so he can talk to Jimmy and say they can kind of talk without giving away the goods.
Exactly. Yeah.
What's he going to tell his mom? Oh, Mom, I got busted with Jimmy and I were breaking into a house and I got busted. He's not going to tell her that. Plus, the phone call's being recorded, so he's dead. So,
right.
From a strategic point of view, he did the right thing. And plus, Marion thinks of Jimmy right now as part of a friend to him and Jimmy, to her and Jimmy, right? He's a friend of the family. So it kind of makes sense. In a way, that flies. I can see how that would fly. But it's the other thing that he said that really, and maybe she put two and two together. I don't know. We don't, but all we know is that he talked about Albuquerque, and she just got done saying that he was in Albuquerque when he got busted, and someone had to have gotten him out of his mess in Albuquerque. So it's interesting how. But anyway, I didn't, because I'm going to be honest, I didn't think anything of it when he was talking about this wouldn't fly. You know, it's not like that in Albuquerque. So I missed it too. And so that was a big that was an interesting conversation those two had, I believe.
They on the phone, yes.
That whole phone thing was like, well, you know. And Marion asked good questions, though, about why didn't she call him? Why didn't he call her? And there he is on the phone talking to Jimmy.
Right.
Them trying to get their story straight. And, well, not get the story straight, but to go over what because Jimmy doesn't know what happened to him after he left. Right? He doesn't know he's been arrested. For all he knows, he got a traffic ticket for failure to control.
Right.
And that was all there was to it, right? I mean, think about it. I mean, that's what anybody would think about it first. Like, okay, he took off, hit that car, failure to control. Here's your ticket. See you in court or pay your fine beforehand, right?
Right. Yep, that's true.
And we didn't know, but then, of course, find out later, well, the guy came out and said, hey, he's a taxi driver. He broke into my house. And so right now he's fingering Jeff as the burglar. And that's why he was arrested. But, you know, not Saul, but a lawyer would have gotten him off because they didn't find any items in his car that were stolen property. So if everything would have went as planned, he wouldn't have been charged except for the except for the reckless operation or failure to control or whatever. But you know what I mean? Because they didn't find anything. There were no break-in tools. He was just sitting there. And plus, while the guy was supposed to be getting burglarized, they saw the guy sitting in front of him. The police did. He was sitting there the whole time, right?
Right. He didn't move.
He didn't move. He was there. He was sitting in that car the whole time.
Right.
And as far as they knew, he was waiting for a fare or he was just also taking a break like they were. So, I mean, really, there was nothing. There probably would have been no case brought against him since there was nothing to show that he broke in or whatever. But other than that, but of course, somebody else has other plans. Somebody is ready to drop the hammer, Jay.
Yes. Yeah, big time. Big time.
So, who drops the hammer? What happens here, Jay? Jay, we're done with the phone call. And here comes Jimmy to the house. And what happens here, Jimmy? Jay? You're not Jimmy. You're Jay. I mean, both start with a J, but
with the J. That's right.
Jimmy J.
We see him getting ready to drive over to Marion's house after he told her to get dressed, and we're going to go all together and pay his bail to get him out the jail. And we hear the song "The Tide Is High," and we're rolling on. And it was funny how Gene was trying to sing the song, but he was kind of off, like always. He did that with the karaoke, but he was just feeling the song. So he was singing it, driving over to Marion's house, and gets to Mary's house, still humming the song, and knocks on the door, bangs on the door too, and nothing was happening. And then he goes to the side and sees the side door open and calls her name really loud, like, Marion, Marion. And Still no answer. Then the door creaks open and he goes in and calls her name real loud, Marion. And then she was shocked that she had these headphones on, and I think Jean was thinking, oh goodness, she's watching cat videos again, because that's why she got the computer, is because she got the cat. I mean, because she loved to watch cat videos, and takes off the headphones and saying, why are you not dressed? Say, Gene, I think you can go by yourself. I mean, you don't need me. And then that's when he heard something on the headphones that Gene heard, and actually heard it and looked in the computer. And this is the part which was so cool to me, is when he did that, you could see the glare in his glasses of the commercial, which should be in color because that's his pass of his commercial. And you can see the Better Call Saul commercial glaring in Gene's black and white glasses. That was such an amazing scene. What was your thinking on that? Was that pretty cool for you too?
Yeah. That was cool. But it wasn't, she's sitting there, I think he's watching cat videos. And she, well, we gotta go. And she says, no, you better go by yourself.
Right.
And well, she has her headset on. I like when Jimmy startles her because he just walks in the house. So, but she hasn't done anything. She's still in her bedrobe and everything else. And
he plays it off to Marion that, you think that's me on the TV, on the commercial? You think that's me? That's not me. That's not me. And like you said earlier, Marion is a smart cookie. And she mentioned to Gene, there was never a nippy, was there? There was never a nippy. And kind of makes him like, oh my goodness, she's really knowing what's going on and getting ready to take out the internet and put the phone back into the phone line and to go to call the police. And this is when we see something that we never seen in Gene, Jimmy, he's gotten mad before, and he got really mad with his brother in the past. But this was the first, in my opinion, this was the first time I'd seen him really aggressive and really like terrifying by him pulling out that telephone cord out the wire and scaring Marion to, no, you're not going to call nobody. You're not going to do this. And then she has a life alert.
yeah.
And just to the life alert, say, don't do it, Marion. Don't do it. Don't do it. You don't do it. No. And the thing that I think that changed his mind on that is Marion said to him, I trusted you. I trusted you.
You brought this up. I didn't notice this before. Why are they using a phone line on the computer?
I guess that's the way of internet was back in the day.
Not in 2000, whatever year that was, 10. No, there was broadband.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Possibly.
We're not talking 1999. We're talking 2010.
No. Right. Right.
So, look, I had broadband before 2010. I mean, I was always on top of. Well, I'm not going to say I was on top of everything, but to me, it's like if you're trying to use your phone cord back in 2010, you're going to have a slow connection.
Correct.
Because everybody was switching over to broadband. I'm not saying you can't do it. I'm just thinking, okay, that means you have to dial into it. She would have to know how to dial in to get to the server. I'm not saying she can't, but I didn't notice that before. I kept thinking, wait a minute, why is she okay? I'm not saying it can't be done. I just didn't catch it
And
because
possibly that's all she known because maybe that's what Jeff showed her. Because the only thing she was watching before this search she did was cat videos, and that's
oh
the only
yeah,
thing
but
she
you
was.
would have thought that Jeff would have broke down and bought her broadband.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I don't know who. I'm trying to figure out who she. I'm trying to figure out who she would dial into because AOL by then was really not the thing that it used to be. That's all. Again, I'm being nitpicky, but I'm just thinking 2010. Why? What the fuck? No, wait, maybe. Is it 2010? Is the future 2010? So, well, it's been 6 years since 2004, so it's 2010, and I'm. It's weird. It's like I didn't think of that. I didn't see her pull that. Try to pull the switcheroo like that. But if she can use dial up, that's cool. That's very cool. But I still think there would have been a little. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I just didn't catch it. I'm glad you caught that. I didn't catch her, pulling the modem cord out of the computer or the phone cord out of the computer and trying to stick it into her phone. That was interesting. I just thought, oh, okay. I just assumed, I guess, 2010 they were using broadband. But anyway, go ahead, Jay.
Right, right. And the threat that was, I mean, the threat of Gene. Actually, you could see his anger, his kind of like, I'm gonna kind of hurt you if you call or you push this button on life alert. Don't do it. But like I said earlier, of Marion saying, "I trust you. I really trust you." He let go, and that's when you hear her push the button and alerts the person on life alert that there's a wanted criminal in my house right now, and his name is Saul Goodman. And that's when you can see him leaving the house, and you can see Gene on the run. There you go with his threat.
So at that point in time, did you think that he was going to kill her?
When I saw it, I don't think so. I mean, I don't think I could in the episodes and seasons I've seen, even in Breaking Bad and also in Better Call Saul, he's not a violent type. I never seen that in him. But you never know when you're in a situation like he was. He wanted to just get away and not get caught. So it was one of those levels where any means necessary kind of feeling. So you just never know the mentality of someone's thinking when you're in a desperate situation that he was, because he didn't want to get caught. I mean, he didn't want no one to know. That's why he paid all that money to leave Albuquerque and do a new life, supposedly. But
Right.
he
I
just
get
couldn't
that.
he couldn't let it go. He had to go back to his old self as Gene,
Okay.
the
So
scamming Gene.
in the original script, he was supposed to kill her. But
Interesting.
but Bob said, I'm not killing Carol Burnett. Are you crazy? So they changed the script because Bob Odenkirk says, I'm not killing Carol Burnett.
No
Because
kidding.
he probably knew all the backlash he was going to get if he killed Carol Burnett.
Right, right.
I mean, she
Oh,
does have a fan base. You got to understand. And plus, she's a great actress. She's a great steward of the profession. And so he was supposed to in the original script, but they changed it because I'm not killing Coop. No, not going to happen. Not going to kill her. So he saved her life, even though he was supposed to kill her.
Okay. That's like we talk about on a rewatch. We goes balls deep. So that was good. Thank you for that info. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I found that out too, and I was like, okay, that's interesting.
Yes, it is.
But I guess killing her after she did the alert would have been a little bit too late anyway. But still,
Yeah.
But still, he had his moment there. He had those few seconds where he could have taken that cord and,
Yeah.
but didn't happen. So he just backed away, and she called, and there's a criminal in my house, and he took off.
Yep. And that's how the episode ends.
And he took off, and so it was interesting. It was nice to see Kim do her thing the first half, Jimmy do his thing the second half.
Yes,
that was plus the in between parts. And plus the in between parts where they're signing the divorce papers.
Correct.
And it was a good episode. And her reaction on the bus is priceless. When she's crying on the bus is priceless. And and the Better Housewives part there at the beginning was kind of cool, kind of all right, where she was playing the housewives, or not being a housewife herself, so it was interesting to see. How did you feel about this?
It was a great episode. I mean, it was definitely a very emotional episode with Kimmy's character and breaking down, like you mentioned right now, with her in the bus and bringing it out in the open of what she did or what she was part of, because it's not just her, it was also Jimmy too. But she put herself on the line and let her know, Howard's wife, that I was part of this terrible situation that happened to your husband.
Yeah.
And it was that part, and then seeing the antics of Gene and getting greedy, which that's kind of how he is. Because I think if he would just left when the cab came in there and he was at the door, he was his hand on the door. He was there. Open the door, walk to the cab, they depart, and of course, we wouldn't be where we at, of course. I mean, we wouldn't be talking like we're talking. But the thing is that he had the opportunity to do that, and he didn't take it.
Yeah.
He just wanted more. He wanted the watch, which I can't believe he stole the watch too. I was like, man, Gene, you just wanted everything.
Yeah. I kept trying to figure out what I wanted to say, but it's either the Desperate Housewives with the Kimmy part, or it's the Housewives of Florida. I don't know, but they went through that part. And the bus thing, but her coming clean, that whole part there, that was emotional.
It was.
What it had to have taken for her, this actress, or not the actress, but the character, to go, you know what? Maybe Jimmy's right. I'm going to go. I'm going to sign my affidavit. I'm going to tell everybody the truth and let the chips fall where they may. And we'll see what happens. Because, I mean, really, as far as everybody's concerned, everybody that had to do with the blue meth is dead, except for Jesse. But I think Jesse's dead too, or in Mexico. You don't think he's dead, or he's in Mexico?
That's what they're thinking. Yes.
And nobody knows he's in Alaska.
Nope.
But the main guys are dead. The cartel's dead. Gus is dead. Heisenberg is dead.
Yep.
Let's move on. Because in the scheme of things, Jimmy's, I guess going after Jimmy's one thing, but Jimmy, really compared to the whole big picture, really. But you never know. But yet they can still go after him, especially after what she said, because now, in essence, she's turned Jimmy in. Okay,
correct.
She hasn't just turned herself in; she's turned Jimmy in.
Yes. Sure did.
So everybody's turned in. And I don't know if she told them where Jimmy was, but they know Jimmy was involved. And in Hamlin's death, but there was nothing there I could see where it says, "Well, yeah, Jimmy's in Nebraska." So I don't know.
No, I think Kimmy didn't even say it either.
So I don't think he told him where he was, but
No,
they know that he's involved and that he's alive too, and in hiding.
Right, that's it. But he found out about her. He found out about her by doing some research and finding out where she was.
Yeah, I'm sure that would make the news down and anywhere.
Yeah.
Because remember, Heisenberg was probably a national news story.
Yeah, all over the world. It's true.
You got to remember, this is a high school teacher turned meth dealer that made millions and killed everybody. So, and I'm sure they knew that Saul was kind of part of it anyway. They just couldn't find him.
Right.
They had to know that Saul was his representation, so they were probably been looking for him for 6 years too. So,
yep, they want to get him. They want to get him, even though they know that Walter White is dead. But I mean,
yeah, but still, it was a good episode. I mean, for a penultimate episode, next one's the last one.
Last one.
That's it, my friends, and we'll be done. And just remind everybody, once we are done, we will be starting our Oktoberfest, where each Sunday we will be doing a different horror movie for October. And so we've got that pretty much lined up. And, and it should be a good, scary month for everybody involved. And so we've got a few couple new guests that will join us, or hosts that will join us to do their movies. So it won't just be Jay and I showing up every week. At least I don't think so.
No.
But Jay and I will be involved, and a few others. So it's going to be a big Halloween bash starting next month in October.
Yes.
Time to get your scare on. So,
that's right.
So, and while I'm at it too, don't forget to hit the like, the subscribe button, and the notification bell, so you don't miss any episodes. But you shouldn't miss any episodes, because every Sunday at 6 Eastern time should be marked on your calendar. It should be on your phone.
That's right.
Where the alarm goes off, you go, "Oh my God, it's time for REwATCH." So yeah, that's what I'm saying. And
that's right.
We got more planned. I mean, Jay and I got some kind of a schedule going on for a while yet. We haven't given up on the show. We like doing it. Not that we would give up on the show. I'm just saying that, we have stuff planned after Better Call Saul. So
right.
Might as well you'll stick around for that.
Coming soon.
So in a way, when you talked about the Blondie song real quick, "The Tide is High." Well, the tide was high for Jimmy, because it was coming up over his head, and he's singing along, not knowing how apropos that song was at the time.
Exactly. Very true.
I mean, all you gotta do is imagine Saul buried in the sand with just his head exposed, and the tide keeps coming up and up. Oh. That would have been that's quite the image, but yeah, that's what it was. So that song was there, and once again, everyone did a great job. It really wasn't a lot of. There were characters, but not a lot, really. I mean, there was a lot of supporting characters, like with Kimmy scenes and stuff, but we didn't. There was no Mike. There was no. Just Jeff, Jimmy, Kimmy, and Francesca's voice. I mean, we didn't get to see her, but we heard her voice.
No, she was there for the color, the part with the notary.
Oh yeah, that's right. She was there for that. She had to probably had to be a witness. So
for the fingerprint.
But we did hear her voice too. So yeah. And so everybody, but anyway, the supporting cast that probably didn't get quite the acknowledgments that they should. They played their roles really well too.
They sure did.
So anyway, Any last thoughts, Jay? Anything else you want to add into this that I may have forgotten?
Uh, just know that the last episode is next week, and the title of the last episode is Saul Gone. I propose. It's almost like saying all gone. So
Yeah,
it's going to be really a good. I mean, it's looking forward to myself and Richard dissecting it and marinating and talking about it and everything next week. And also, folks that's going to be watching this later on, thank you for listening to both of us diagnose this episode. People that are watching it live, thank you for watching it and giving the likes. And like we mentioned before, subscribe to ndbmedia.net. So thank you guys for watching.
well, yeah, don't forget to subscribe to REwATCH Talk Live.
Also,
Or not also, only. I mean, you can't subscribe to ndb.net. That's a website. So anyway, that's all I have for this episode. I can't believe that we're at the end already.
I know. I mean, time does fly. I mean, my goodness, I think we started this in May. It's amazing.
So we spent the whole summer doing this?
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
that was a while.
You're probably right.
Yeah.
Okay, everyone. We'll catch you later. And hey, if you want to, you can even comment on these episodes.
please.
Let us know what you feel, what you don't like. Well, don't tell us what you don't like. We don't want to hear that crap. Just tell us what you like.
Exactly.
All right, everybody. Have a good week. And until next Sunday at 6 Eastern time, everybody have a great week.
You guys. Bye-bye, everyone.